This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. As always, I appreciate you being here. I'm real excited about today's podcast because hanging out with me, but actually not with me, is my best friend, Karen Rontowski. And the reason it's different is because clearly she's my best friend, so I've never had a best friend on my podcast. And don't tell my husband that. And other than that, she's out in Los Angeles, and I'm over here in Florida, so we're doing this fancy-like and on the computer. Karen is an amazing comedian. She's just phenomenal. And she is also an amazing tarot reader. She has a web series and a podcast, both by the name of Paranormal Karen. You should check those out. You're just going to laugh and laugh and laugh. She's hysterical. So, welcome to my podcast, Karen.
Hi, it's good to be here after 400 tries with this recording equipment.
I know, it's a little bit goofy, right?
I know, but I think we finally got it.
Well, you're sharing some credit there. I just kind of, tagged along because I don't know anything technology like this. Kind of is beyond me. So thank you for helping me with it. That's really cool.
You got it.
Yay! So, I have some questions that I just want to ask you. A little bit different today because a lot of times, as you know, I do this podcast with Josh or family members. And you know what? I thought it'd be really cool to get some input from somebody that knows Josh really well, but, didn't know him from the time, he got here, from the time, as he's growing up. You've met him as he was an adult.
Right. And wait, there's my ride. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You'll get the next one.
Yes. It's interesting because I knew you on the phone for so long, and I knew you talking about him for so long that I was thinking about this. I think the first time I really met Josh was at your house in Pennsylvania.
Correct. And that was probably, 6 years ago?
I wonder if it was longer. I think it
might have been. Time flies, right?
And I have no concept of time. So everything happened last month, if you ask me. And so I met Josh last month.
Right. Yes. So, I was thinking about this and I'm, there's no way that I'm going to have any other perspective than being his mom. And so, I just wanted to ask you a couple things about it and feel free to, take this wherever you'd like to. But I was wondering, is Josh the first person with autism that you've really interacted with?
I would say at this much interaction, yes, because I still even talk to him quite often. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I'm sort of a transient.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking, that's funny. I don't interact that much with a lot of people. So Josh may actually be one of my good friends and he doesn't even know it.
Right. Well, so what, if anything, is got your attention with Josh? What are some of the things that you've noticed about him that just might stand out to you about him?
The first thing that I remember making a note on, because not to be I love your family, but his kindness. And I don't know why, because I wasn't not expecting him to be kind, but he really, I remember him smiling and just being very, very kind to me. And he wanted to show me his favorite band on the computer. And I don't know why, but that just how nice he was. I was like, oh yeah, I could talk to this guy forever.
Yeah, he is that nice.
And he is, but he's also, and this is one of the qualities about him that's great, is that he's completely honest, right?
Right.
But not insulting. Like you know what I mean? You know how sometimes completely honest can be insulting?
Right.
It's I don't think he had anything like that honest to say to me, but I know that we had some laughs. You know what else I remember? I remember when we did Paranormal Comics, and we did the show in Pennsylvania, and he was sitting in the back with Haley, and I remember how much he enjoyed the show. Like he was smiling and laughing start to finish. And it's a weird thing to bring up, but you really, especially after knowing you so long and knowing kind of the interactions and what was troubling and what wasn't troubling, I'm not sure what I expected, but it really is, he's a very warm person.
Right. And, what's interesting is that he really had to work to have that kind of interaction that you've experienced with him. And I don't think you think so, right? I mean, doesn't it seem like, a lot of the times that the interactions that you've had, it just kind of seems natural.
It does. And also sometimes you'll say that he shuts down and stuff, and I almost can't see that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never seen that. I can imagine in my mind when you talk about it what it's like, but I was almost thinking the opposite. Like, I just
it's me that shuts down instead of him.
Right. Although sometimes I do that. That's good to close the door and just shut everybody. I guess that's shutting out, not shutting down. But
Right.
It looks effortless.
Right. He worked very, very hard at doing just that. He worked very hard at it. Years of counseling, and, a long time ago, he would have a difficult time looking somebody in the eye as he was having a conversation. And so even down to that bit of that process, he had to be shown and reminded and taught how to look somebody in the eye when he's having a conversation. He had to be taught how to wait his turn, taught how, close maybe is comfortable for somebody to stand, for him to stand in proximity to them. What's most people, we know that that's different for everybody, but for most people. So he learned how, that what space he needs to give someone else. Also had to be reminded that the conversation can go on to topics other than his favorite point of interest.
I know some people that need to learn that.
Well, he was one of them. And it would be about the Civil War constantly, if he wasn't redirected into a different topic. So when you met him and you had these conversations, that none of that jumped out, right? I mean, he's really worked hard to get to a point where that looks kind of flawless.
No, none of that jumped out. And also, I believe that you did a show with me in Gettysburg, and he never mentioned it. So, so he let that completely slide.
Right. So he didn't corner you and tell you all about the repeating the Henry rifle?
No, plus I may be a little scary to him, because I know one time I asked him if he wanted me to buy him some ghost spray, and he was like, no, I don't want anything to do with it. Oh, I
would have done it.
I do remember once I sent him you said he loved it, and I can't remember. There was outside on my house, somebody put up this flyers, and it said, don't ever go solo, and it had a picture of Han Solo, and it said, take a Chewbacca with you. And then it had little tags on the bottom where you could take off a Chewbacca. I don't know what it was, but I know that he found that to be fascinating. He thought that was very funny.
Right. And yes, he loved it. He went on and on about that for weeks. He thought that was the best gift ever.
Yes, it was a picture. It was very inexpensive.
Yep. And you've sent him peanut butter and jelly chocolate.
Oh, and I know, and I think I got him a Christmas present. It's easy. He likes Star Wars, so when I see something Star Wars, I get it for him, and that's that. That's easy.
Yeah, but he's always genuinely surprised and grateful, and he always wants to know if he can call you and tell you thank you. He doesn't want to send a text. He doesn't want to send an email. He wants to call you and tell you personally thank you for the gift.
Yes, you know what he has, and did you tell him Karen hates talking on the phone? But he always has, and he leaves the kindest messages. Like, I think he should be writing greeting cards, maybe, or thank you cards, because they're always. He always says the right thing, and it's not something that anyone else would say.
Isn't that fascinating? I mean, just that sentence, if you think about it, you just said that he always knows the right thing to say. And that has been the very essence of a difficult experience in his life, is knowing the right thing to say. And
you know what, too, though? But because he really speaks from his heart, maybe that's why it's always right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because, I think anybody that's listened to this podcast before and they hear Josh, I think that they probably recognize that he's an intelligent, thoughtful person. He's also gentle. He is as gentle as he sounds. And you've met him, and he's a big beast of a guy, right?
But remember, I'm a big beast of a woman.
Oh, well.
So he's my height. And you know what else? When he really laughs, he has a great laugh.
He does. And it's wonderful to be able to see that. There were periods of, times in his life where he didn't laugh very often. He had a really difficult time figuring out how to do exactly what he's doing so well when it comes to having conversations with you. And when he was younger and didn't quite understand how to have conversations, school was really difficult. It was a time he was bullied and mistreated. And, it's really hard to think about that here he is now, a person that's so genuine and so gentle. And, his experience at school, they did include, people threw basketballs at his face. People.
I know this podcast is about Josh, and you don't want to be embarrassed, but you did so many amazing things, and I always remember you telling me the story about spending hours trying to get socks to match. I know, and you know what, you laugh, but it sort of is. You are the most genuine, kind person, and I mean really kind from the heart, that I know. That's why, every once in a while when you lose your temper, I love it. I'm like,
you do, don't you?
Come to the dark side with me. Come over here with me, where I lose my temper daily. But your patience and the way that you approached working with him is exactly what we're talking about. I remember you telling me one time you two were at a therapist or something, and he acknowledged that everybody doesn't get a mom like you. And he's right. I would have. You were so patient, and so I don't think I could handle adult children. Never mind children. But right. I don't know how you did it.
Well, it's what happens is that to me anyway, you do what you need to do. And for me, both of my kids have been, the most important thing. It was to be the best mom that I could be for them. And, it was just
accomplished.
Well, thank you. Let me, I appreciate everything you're saying, Karen. Let me tell everybody about the socks. So when Josh was, probably up until he was in 4th grade, we would get ready for school, and every morning he has sensory issues. So what back then, the socks had the seams across the top at the tips of the toes, so it would go right over the tops of the toes. And he had sensory issues, so it would make him miserable to put on a sock, and we wouldn't know that it was going to be miserable until the shoe was on, and tied, and he stood up. So if you can imagine, every single morning was putting on every single sock that he owned, put it on the shoe, tie the shoe, let him stand up. It's not right. And then he would scream and have a fit and couldn't wait to get the shoe off. So then we'd gather the shoes, we'd go to the next sock. And it just went on and on until we had gone through this whole, and sometimes it's just, putting the same sock on with a little bit of a different angle. So then it would be okay. But every morning that would happen. So we would have to get up early enough to allot for sock time.
See, and you're making it sound effortless, but I would have hung myself. And also, there wasn't like a lot of clarity on what Asperger's was at that time.
Correct. It's something that had
you were just like, do I have a shoe savant kid? What do I have here? What's going on? Which is, God bless you. God bless you for making it through that.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I really appreciate that. I meet so many wonderful people that, have had children that are like Josh, and that what they found out the same thing that I found out, that it's a huge struggle. At times it can be overwhelming, and at the same time, what we get the benefit of is to be right up close watching these amazing kids, and for me, that turn into an amazing adult. That he Josh and the folks that I've met that have autism, they're just amazing people with a heart of gold, and they try so hard, and yet they're, like you say, there's some things that just seem effortless to them, which is just to be pure. And
they when I read tarot cards, there's 2 cards that almost always come up for autistic children or Asperger's children, and one is the moon card, which has to do with the back of the head. That there's that must be where they associate that with, but also the hermit card, which is the oldest souls there are.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating.
Well, too, when you think about, I'm going to get weird and paranormally here.
Well, you are paranormal, Karen.
Yes, I am. But when you think about how right now the big focus is on authentic self, and a lot of us are fighting because of things we were taught, which is maybe girls don't say that, or they always should be nice, or this is wrong, or don't ever get mad. All these things that sort of have caused us to edit or shame, they are just being who they are. And it's effortless. In fact, I don't think Josh could be anybody else. I don't think he could act like it if you said just for a day, and that is authentic self, which is why it makes them also an old soul.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree completely. Because we get, we label people because, our society says that we have to. And yet it seems to me that time and time again, the people that our society says that we have to label as having some sort of disability are also the very people that have really got it going on as far as you're talking about being authentic. While the rest of us are kind of scrounging around trying to find our way, trying to find who we are.
Right.
This example is right here in front of us. And I think that's overlooked so often.
There's a TV show that I don't know, it was on Hulu or something, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was about a cult, and the members of the cult were never supposed to lie because that leads to insincerity, and I think that's kind of right.
Kind of right. Yeah, I agree.
The size of a woman's rear end. Other than that, I think we could.
Which, by the way, Josh has done.
What did he do? Tell us that. What happened?
Oh my gosh! Just in line at the store, he was a little guy. Just in line, and the lady in front of us had a really huge rear end.
Uh-oh.
Yes. And I mean, we all knew it, but it's not something that you say.
You tap him real quick and go, Josh, go talk to that woman about the Civil War. Go. She wants to know everything about the Civil War.
That would have been fantastic, but this was before the time that the Civil War was the subject matter. Yeah. And, right. So we were in line, and he pointed this out, and rather loudly he pointed this out, and it just got extremely uncomfortable for a few minutes. Extremely uncomfortable, because you raise your kids and you want them to be polite, you want them to be respectful, and and is it a little bit uncomfortable when he points out something that nobody's talking about? Well, yes, but here's the thing. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings ever. I just don't want to do that. There's it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, there's no reason to insult anybody. There's no reason to say something that's going to hurt their feelings. Now, having said that, right, having said that, just because my son says out loud that you have a big butt does not make it like all of a sudden because he said it, now you have a big butt. You knew you had a big butt before you left the house.
Right. If this is news to you.
Yeah, this is not news. So the fact that that a little kid says it out loud it doesn't really warrant the snarls and the attitude given back to the little kid, and especially the little kid's mom, because you knew you had a big old butt before you left the house. So,
yeah. Exactly.
Oh, so that is something that has Josh ever? I know that he's asked permission before to give you a call, and yes, to answer your question, I have never told him that you don't like talking on the phone.
Oh, I was just kidding too. I'll always take a call from Josh.
Yeah, I figured you do when it's Josh. I figured you do. And if not, he leaves you a message, and that's pretty cool. But
well, also he answers your phone.
He does.
Your whole family answers your phone. When I call you, sometimes it's Dave, sometimes it's Josh. I'm like, where are you leaving your phone? That you're the only one not near your phone.
I know. I have an unruly clan for sure.
I love it though. With your family, I don't care. Yeah. Einstein can answer the phone, and I'll talk to him too.
Well, if Einstein, he doesn't have thumbs, so Einstein can't really hold the phone, and do very well with that. But Einstein, he's our little Bichon. I don't know if we've talked about them on the podcast before.
Oh yeah.
Little sassy pants Einstein. He's pretty cool. And Josh is extremely good with animals, and he's extremely good with little kids. I bet that doesn't surprise you, but he's got a niece and a nephew that are about 2.5 and 1.5, and he is so good with them.
Yeah,
it kind of surprised me. I didn't know what that was going to be like, but he's firm, and this won't surprise you that he wants them to follow the rules.
Does he tell them they have big butts?
No, he's never said that, and they wouldn't know what that meant anyway.
Well, you know what, too, though? It just goes with, you can hear it in his voice, and even when you talked about there was a point in his high school life, I think it was high school or junior high, where it turned from being picked on to standing up for other people, where he kind of realized that he was this size and stuff. He didn't fight. He stood there, and he just has a peaceful demeanor. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that carries on with little kids, that the he never has a disproportionate view of his size. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
And that is just the peaceful nature and wanting peace and treating. He really treats people how he wants to be treated.
He does. He does, and that's what's interesting to me. That he's considered to have a disability when actually it just kind of seems like the opposite is true. Yes, he has some communication issues, and verbal and nonverbal communication is difficult for him at times. But yet he really does get what it seems like we're all here to do and what life is about. Right, which is to be kind to others, to show love to others. It doesn't matter who they are. I mean, he's got this down. He even the lady in line with a big butt at the time, he didn't. He doesn't say anything to hurt their feelings. Now, as an adult, he's not going to mention a woman's big butt. He's learned that, and he also has learned that can hurt their feelings. So he's not going to do it. Right. Except one time with me, he had to go under anesthesia one time. He had a little surgery, and he came out of the surgery, and he was kind of loopy. They ended up keeping him overnight because he wasn't coming out of the anesthesia real fast, and so they just kept him overnight. But anyway, he was coming out of this anesthesia a little bit, and he looked at me and he said, "Mom, you have a big butt, the biggest butt I've ever seen." and I'm thinking, you jerk. I don't, and because at the time I had no such thing. As a matter of fact, it's kind of flat. If anything, it's not this really big butt. So. But he announced it, and so he didn't care at that point. But now he's very aware of what may hurt somebody's feelings, and he generally only hurts somebody's feelings now when he is trying to make a joke that doesn't work.
That way you started that story, because you said he doesn't want to hurt any feelings, but once he ended up in anesthesia, and I was going to say, wow, what did he say that you punched him into anesthesia? You made him uncomfortable. What was that? Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me something. What's your favorite aspect of Josh?
That's interesting. I don't know. I'm almost going to have to go with the first part, which is his kindness and his smile. Mm-hmm. Even when he calls on the phone or I talk to him on the phone, you genuinely feel like he's happy to hear from you. Or also I know we can fact check with him without having to worry about, you know what I mean? Like conversation, we can fact check. That's very handy. But I just like how kind of cheerful he is. That is, really always happy to see. But I really want to say his smile. I'll never forget that during our show, because I thought he was so happy and laughing and smiling, and I thought he was so proud of you.
That that is something that is so special to me, that he does go out of his way to let me know how proud of me he is. And I don't know, so I don't even know if you know this. To this day, when I have a comedy show, at some point during that day, usually before I'm heading out the door to go to the gig, every single time Josh says, "Good luck, I love you, have a great show."
That's so sweet.
Yeah, he does it every single time to this day, and it just I don't know. I can't even find words to describe how that makes me feel. It's just pretty amazing.
Yeah, he is pretty amazing. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you on here all day. I so appreciate you talking to me today and giving your feedback, because it is one of those things that I've done this for 29 years. So what does this experience like? What's Josh like for people that came in maybe when he was 20, 21? What was that like? And so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very funny because I know the hard times, and when you meet him, you kind of go, wait, what happened? You know what I mean? Because he's so, I don't know, genuine, and you take him in right away, and you trust him right away. And you just, so sometimes when I hear there's issues, which you guys talk about on the podcast, it's hard for an outsider to see.
Right. And there's been times when, I've called you, crying like a baby before, because there's just things I don't know what else to do.
Right.
There's times when I'm at the point that I don't know what else to do. And, what I do is call you and just kind of let it all out. And, and then there's some times that I get, like you said, mad, but you're the only person I know that when I get mad, on the other end of the phone, there's laughter.
Well, it's so out of, he has your disposition. But what's interesting? Sometimes I could see where Josh would be in a situation and people wouldn't not pick up that he has a disability.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's got to be hard.
I think that it is. I think that because he presents himself as a person that you wouldn't sometimes right off the bat realize that he takes a couple beats before a response for a reason.
Well, I know a lot of people from Wisconsin, and they do the same thing.
Because of all the cheese.
I think it was because of all the cold weather. I had a couple of friends that would always say, so anybody could just think he was from Wisconsin.
Okay. All right.
You know what I do remember? I remember once I stayed at your house, and I stayed in this room, and there was a trash can full of contact lenses. Oh, and you said, "Don't touch that."
No, that was that. You would just think, yes, it was a trash can, and yes, it was full of contact lenses, and you would just think it was a trash can, but no, the only thing that could go into that trash can were contact lenses. And then he had another trash can that trash could go in. You didn't make a mistake and put trash in that contact
I did not. You stopped me before there was a problem. But it was, Actually, it's a weird thing because I think of that often because it was kind of a cool picture. Like you've never seen all contact lenses just in a pile, and there were a lot of them. And I always wish I had taken the picture just because it was such an interesting picture.
Well,
that could have been his logo.
Yeah, it could have been. So what that looked like, and for people maybe that don't wear contacts, Josh has these daily wear contacts. And so that means every day he takes them out and he puts a new pair in the next day. And for some reason, I think that I do know it's because when you look at the contacts that he wears, they have kind of like a blue-green tint to them. They don't make his eyes a different color, but when they're all together like that, if you just look at one, you're not going to notice it. But when they're all together like that, they
reflect and
yeah, they put off this.
There was like 100. There was like hundreds of them.
at least like that went on for years, and I'm like, okay, I don't. It's one of those things. Like if I'm going to pick a battle, that's not going to be it. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead and keep your contact lens trash can. I don't care. It's okay with me. Well, yes. So I'll see if he's doing that. I don't think he is, but if he is, I'll tell him that to send you a picture of it.
Yeah, a real artsy one that I can clip so that no one will guess what it is.
Right. Oh, and then you make a puzzle out of it.
Yeah, or I'll make it his logo. I'll put his initials in there.
There you go. He does this one logo that he's got, like that's a infinity sign.
Oh, that's right. He made his own logo, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool, and it's his favorite color, blue-green.
And he made his own. What is that Jedi thing?
Goodness!
Lightsaber. He's made his own lightsaber.
Yes, and he made his own costume. And he had the wrist, I don't know what it's called. It's this wrist guard thing that has his logo on that. It's leather and it ties up in the front and it goes on his both of his wrists, and that has the logo that he made on it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yep. He's got a lot. Now you think about it, he's got a lot of that kind of stuff that he's created and has had made. But he's really thoughtful too. I think you've seen it before. My first dog was Dusty. He's also a little Bichon. And after he passed away, Josh had made for me for a Christmas gift this blanket. And this was, I guess nowadays it's easier to get this kind of stuff, but this was 9 years ago. 11 years ago, that he could, he had Dusty's picture put on this blanket and got that for me for Christmas. So that's the kind of stuff he does. He's very thoughtful that way. So it's pretty amazing. That's what we're talking about. When we say that somebody has a disability, well, it certainly seems like he's got a connection, like a heart connection with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I really it's a peaceful sense that he wants things peaceful.
Yes.
And yes. When he loses his temper, is it awful? Or is it funny like when you lose your temper?
Well, I think you're the only one that thinks it's funny when I lose my temper. No, he doesn't lose his temper very often. He does get he gets grumpy sometimes, and then when he gets grumpy, he just wants to go and be by himself.
That's better. I wish I had that quality. I do not. My quality is burn down everything now.
Everything now. That's it. Well, you know what? We're going to wrap it up on that because I just want everybody to know that if you're going to, just burn everything down, if that's your theory now, they need to go see you in comedy clubs.
They need to go see us in Thanksgiving.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thanksgiving. Karen and I are going to be working together in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. That Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's a club called Wisecrackers, and it's in the Mohegan Sun. They're in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So that's going to be a great time. So if you do come out, let us know that you heard us on the podcast and you came out. We'd love to see you.
And get your tickets now, because I'm afraid it's going to sell out by May.
I think so too. I agree. So everybody, yes, please go check out Paranormal Karen. It's on the a web series, podcast. What's your Facebook?
Everything is Karen Rontowski or Paranormal Karen. If they go to KarenRontowski.com, they can find everything, and or Paranormal Karen. All those find me.
Okay, they all get back to you, right?
Yes, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Karen. I've enjoyed this so much. It's different than what we usually do, and I'm just so grateful for you spending time with us. And so everybody just go check Karen out. You're gonna laugh, I guarantee it. And thank you for hanging out with us again. Love you.